Hi, this is Sabarty Beekeeper, removing the foam board insulation from the top of my hive and the wool blanket that I keep on here during this chilly season. We're not at winter yet. Heck, it doesn't even seem like we're in fall yet. I am on a farm north of Fairbanks, Alaska, called Happy Creek Farm. We do things other than keep bees, but you really wouldn't know it. Bees are still taking dry pollen. They're still being prepared for winter, still being fed. This might be the longest I have fed my bees. And the reason being is because we have these super warm temps. You can see the bees flying around. It shouldn't be that warm right now. At night it is going down into the 20s, which is typical for us. But then it's getting into the 50s in the afternoon, like right now. This is my hippie hive. The feeder is clogged with bees, hungry bees. You can see them trying to get to that syrup. And they can't because of the clog, the death clog. So I've got to shovel out these dead bees here so the other ladies can get some syrup. With this syrup, which is a 2-to-1 ratio, they're putting up stores for winter, but also they're using it for their travels right now. It's interesting because there's nothing out there for them, but they're still looking. And bees communicate to each other. And I wonder what the waggle dance looks like right now. Like, there's nothing out there. Sensory-wise, the bees, when they visit flowers, they know if there's pollen available or not, and if it's what they need. Ideally, at this time of year, the flying has almost stopped, and they're chilling in their hive, waiting to be hived up, resting. And the winter bees will be hatching. Those are the bees that have developed vitellogenin or vitalogenin. I'm going to smoke this again, get these bees back in so I can put that lid back on, the feeder lid, and keep these ladies from getting defensive. Plan on your equipment malfunctioning during hive checks. I'm serious. You can do that by having extra equipment. I always carry at least a couple of hive tools with me and a knife, a couple of brushes, so that if I drop something or I lose something or something breaks, I've got a substitute. You can check the propolis now. See how, oh, that's beautiful. Look how stuck that is. They have sealed this hive shut. Woo! That's great. I'm going to do the bonk because I want to clear the bees off the lid of the feeder, off the bottom, because I'm going to put some more food in here. I don't want to squish anybody. Look at these beautiful dark bees. They got treated for mites yesterday. You see them? There is easily 10 frames of bees in here. If we were in springtime, I'd be preparing for a swarm, because they would be. But they're not preparing for a swarm. I would love to throw another box on here with empty frames and have them put up some more stores, because I've got a couple hives that need some more stores. But with the temperatures and the season, I don't know. Something I'll have to think about. It might be worth it. They're flying around using a lot of energy. I'm feeding them to offset that energy expenditure And I'm also feeding them to keep up their stores. And if I put another box on here, they could make some extras, some extra full frames that would help sustain a hive through the winter. There's some brood comb. I'm going to put on some fondant. So I treated for mites yesterday, and I treated for mites 4 days before that. Check in the board. Check your mite boards regularly. If you have a closed bottom board, ask yourself why. Why would you not want to see what's falling off of your bees? And if you're using wood, ask yourself why. Wood is porous, right? So when it gets wet, the moisture soaks in. Bacteria, mold, all the other gunk can survive on that. How would you want to live in a place full of that stuff? Scraping off my mite board. I sure wouldn't. Ah, they know I'm here. It's getting late. I can see I'm not going to use my brush. Put on some fondant and add some syrup to it to moisten it so it'll melt a little bit. And then I'll replace the syrup feeder. They are low on syrup, so I will fill it up. It is 2 to 1. It's 2 to 1 season. 2 cups sugar to 1 cup water. I'll add a tea bag of chaga, which is a growth that happens on our birch trees. It's got a lot of good stuff in it for the bees. And I throw a little bit of lemon juice in there to offset the pH, to make it more digestible by the bees. I put in some lemongrass oil and some spearmint oil to help protect against varroa. It also protects against tracheal mites. We don't have tracheal mites up here. We don't have tracheal mites. We don't have hive beetles. We don't have American fall brood or European fall brood. Good thing. So, bees are coming up to the surface. You can see they're hungry. This hive is probably about 100 pounds. You can see them coming up. The white stuff that you see is the fondant, and the orange stuff is the pollen patty. And in there, I'm using the same recipe as I have been all summer. There's honey. I learned that from some Siberians. There's also some pollen, actual pollen granules. There is yeast powder extract. There is chana flour, which is chickpea flour. Chitin. What else? Borage oil. And I'll add some Hive Alive, both to the syrup and to my pollen patties, which protects against mites. It's got thymol in it. Oh, I've got a lot of bees down there. This is the most frustrating part. I don't want them to get squished. And I don't know why, and I don't know how, but it always seems like they're hanging out right where I am putting the food. If I bang them, they'll fall for sure. I've got 2 clusters. I can let it down slowly. And hopefully the pressure tells them to move out of the way. So since I found a few mites on my mite board, I'll be treating these gals again until there are none. I want to give them the best chance in our tough winter. They're actually wintered in a shelter that's been built specifically for them. So it's not as tough as being outside, but even outside they're covered in insulation. Come on, girl. They need some syrup. We got a hungry lady in here. Being less focused on the honey and more focused on learning about health. And I'm asking myself, as there's a bee right here on my face, why did it take so long to change my line of thinking? I think it's because I assumed that they would be healthy, that they got what they needed, and they should be, right? But they're not, because of varromites and nosema virus and all the other crap that takes our bees, impacts our bees, infects our bees, debilitates and kills our bees. That's it. They're good for tonight. I'm going to put a little blanket on top. That'll help with this little open seam that I have here as the lid settles. I don't like it. Gives the wasps an opportunity to get in there. The wool blanket really helps. I learned it from a friend, beekeeper in Scotland, who has a great podcast and blog called Bee Listener. Wonderful person, great beekeeper named Ann Chilcott. And she showed me how they use wool for insulation in the winter. And this is not how they use it, but this works for our climate and our environment. And prior to learning about the wool, I would use sleeping bags. The sleeping bags absorb moisture and they get wet and not be very effective. But the wool does not. And the wool reflects heat back to the hive. Take care of yourselves, take care of your bees. This video is copyrighted and all rights reserved. Ukraine is winning. Bye.